What would happen if everyone slept for 1,000 years and then awakened? Assume that everyone on the planet is doing the same thing. Has made the decision to skip the next 10 centuries. The entire world's population decreases to a specially constructed. Everyone hunkers down in underground bunkers into their warm and inviting beds. The alarm is set by the last person to wake up. 1,000 years in the future clock. And the millions of people close their eyes. People praise the robot assistants. To the night. Are going to cling to their friends. They will keep an eye on their sleeping lords. Condition. And keep an eye on what is going on with our planet. To ensure that no one is left behind. To take care of our civilization. Their residences and workplaces, as well as all of the cities around the world, are entrusted to nature. Even after only one night's sleep. Power plants all throughout the world start to come online. Turn off. The city lights are now turned off. There is no television or access to the internet. The last ray of sunshine on the planet. Las Vegas is a city in the United States. It is run on hydroelectric power. A plant that can continue to grow unattended. 4. It has been a long time, yet no one is left to have a party there. As the neon lights shine down on a barren landscape. Streets. Raccoons begin to appear in the area a week later. Residences of individuals. There is no one to frighten them away, so they stay. Climb into your trash bin and provide a hand. Their way into your refrigerator. In fact, they now effectively run your business. House. A domestic animal would have had a hard time to keep going without people for even a short period of time. For a week. Fortunately, everyone brought their pets with them to slumber with them underneath. Who would not like to sleep for a few hours with a cat curled up in it for 1,000 years on their laps? Refrigerators would not work if there was no electricity, as well as supermarkets and restaurants. Stop. Food for work and groceries will be available soon. Begin to deteriorate. The foul odor will attract a large number of people. A variety of scavengers and pests. It has been a month since the great snooze began. Nature is already breaking down into metropolitan areas. And I don't simply mean the flora. The lions that dwell in city zoos have discovered that their enclosures are no longer adequate, no longer energized. They now walk the streets of our towns and govern them. Streets on the lookout for prey. A year later, with no one in sight. The world's ports are in a state of disarray. Ropes have begun to rip, and massive cargo has been lost. Ships are slipping away from their moorings. Some of them crash or collide with one another. Bridges will be smashed and bridges will be sunk. The rats who made their homes on cruise ships will use up the remaining materials. And they will begin a battle with the gulls begging for scraps. It is difficult to wake up after 5 years of slumber. Our cities are no longer recognizable. Buildings have been covered in vines and ivy. Concrete has been turned by other plants. The transformation of roadways into gardens. You cannot hear the never-ending horns of passing cars. Horns or the music from all of the commercials. Times Square is no longer valid. Only the bird music and the wind remain. Wind. Oh, and Las Vegas has long since ceased to exist. As well as lighting up. Normally, astronauts are in charge of controlling and correcting the environment. The International Space Station's orbit station. They are back on Earth now, though, and they are fast asleep. In addition to everyone else, the ISS quickly penetrates the atmosphere of the Earth. And 10 years before it falls to the ground, Everyone has already having a fantastic time. The number of dreams. However, the real world is rapidly evolving. Hydroelectric power plants and dams. Cities in the vicinity of major cities are beginning to crumble. Without humans to look after them. The water has broken through. It causes flooding in people's homes. Are on the rise. And new occupant fish are showing up. In our towns. London will be lost in 30 years. Amsterdam. They were constructed on marshes that were once flooded. Drainage systems keep the area dry. Nature, on the other hand, now has the upper hand. As well as the streets. From time to time, you will notice that you are sinking. Big fireworks can be seen in our barren planet. Displays. Nobody is celebrating anything these days. The issue is that forest fires can quickly spread. Control. They also occasionally make it to disused warehouses. Full with these kinds of things. The outcomes are outstanding, yet they have no one to watch them. You can see the stars if you look up into the night sky. There is a chance you will see a meteor shower. This time, though, it is not due to rocks from the cosmos. Artificial satellites, on the other hand, beginning to plummet to the ground. There is a risk if they do not have humans to lead them. Many of them are combusting in the atmosphere. Surprisingly, it has been 50 years since everyone in the entire world had gone to sleep. There is still human speech audible. Thanks to the elderly parrots. Enough to keep in mind. Many of the ones we used to own are no longer available. Still going strong. They also repeat some of our expressions. Used. Humanity has slept for 100 years and is still awake. It is barely 10% of the way there. However, the world already appears as if we are all doomed. Centuries have passed by. Along with earthquakes, rusting is a problem. Damaging some of our most valuable assets. Achievements. The Brooklyn Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge. The bridge has given way. Large Ben Virgil Arab and other well-known figures. After a disaster, buildings will be left in ruins. Century. Despite magnificent works of art such as the Mona Lisa will start to fade away. Currently, tiny microorganisms start chewing on the timeless painting. After that, they are joined by insects. Find a way into her glass-encased safe. Almost a third of all the time has passed in the last 150 years. Skyscrapers around the world will be demolished. The highways that cross the metro tunnels will burst. Washington, D.C. will eventually fade away, and Los Angeles will be transformed into a true savanna, with a large number of elephants on the loose. All the storage after 300 years of sleep. Devices that were once utilized to save people's lives. Information will be irreparably ruined if it is not repaired. USB thumb drives. Human history is recorded on CDs or on paper. Culture will vanish. Almost all of the automobiles on the road were gone by that time. The earth will have been obliterated. Corrosion. Their flat tires, on the other hand, will continue to be a problem. Rot for centuries to come. Pisa's tower has a slight slant to it. Way too far. And oh no. There are extremely few people who have slept for 500 years. Buildings that have been left on the globe. The Liberty Statue has been desecrated. Washington has devolved into a swamp, while Los Angeles has become a wasteland. A sandstorm. Venetian ruins have been totally restored. Underwater. And now it is time for us to cross the finish line. There has never been a time when the planet has been devoid of human activity. Cities are nothing more than ruins in various shades of green. The majority of structures are virtually completely demolished. indistinguishable from concrete heaps. Trash. But astonishingly some structures that were erected almost 1,000 years ago. The pyramids of Giza will still be standing. The pyramids of Giza and the Great Wall of China. China is still the only country that has survived. Humans have ever created technology. The lunar rovers, of which there are 7, will be the focus. They were created by several countries. In truth, the moon's surface is still intact. The rovers on the moon and on Mars will continue to operate. It has been around for over 1 million years, and are scarcely affected by corrosion. They could end up being the only evidence that our civilization existed at all. Finally, the alarm clock goes off. People are waking up and having a fantastic time. After a long night's sleep, stretch. Their bunkers have kept the peace. Ideal weather. And they have got everything they will need. People who support life rise to the surface to observe. Of course, what has happened to their world? Everyone was aware that the world would be conquered by. When they went to bed, they were surrounded by nature. They are now faced with the task of constructing everything once more. They have adequate technology and to do with the knowledge they had left in their bunkers. Merely that. But why did they sleep for a while? In the first place, 1,000 years. Humanity, on the other hand, decided that it was time to move on.